morning, everybody. Okay. Thank you for your patience with me. I ran into some difficult traffic patterns this morning in Portsmouth. But thank you for being here on this cool and breezy fall day. We're going to get started with our agenda. We have some interesting items for you. And with that, we'll get started with our roll call.
Mr. Bailey, Mr. Hines,
Present.
Ms. Jiggins,
Present.
Mr. Kelly,
Present.
Mrs. Lucas-Burr,
Present.
Mr. Thomason,
Present.
Mr. Thompson.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Great. With that now, we'll get to take a look at our minutes from our September 15th meeting, and our commissioners have had an opportunity to review them. If there are any changes, we'll hear those now. And if there are none, we'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve. Second.
Then moved and second, we'll get a roll call vote.
Mr. Hines,
Second.
and your reason.
I wasn't here.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Jiggins,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mrs. Lucas-Burr,
Yes.
Mr. Thomason,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
and it's approved. Thank you.
Now we'll move to our financials for September 2015, and we have them before us this morning. And we have a new financial representative, Ms. Alice Kelly.
Hi.
Will present for us.
Good morning, my name is Alice Kelly. I've been with the city of Portsmouth now for, I think, a week before Dr. Patton showed up, so.
With each county.
So I appreciate and I want to thank you for your patience. We're getting ready, our external auditors just showed up yesterday, and so we were getting ready for the regular audit. And so I was a little bit behind in getting our EDA financials to you before they distributed the packet on Friday. But Erin very graciously helped me distribute the financials to you. And we have an unaudited statement of net position. The auditors would like to come next month and present the audited financial statements for FY15, if that be the pleasure of the chair. The total net position is $14,739,000. If you go to the next page, we have the statement of revenue and expenses. Year to date, we have a net change in net position of a loss of $48,733, which is not unusual. We haven't sold any land, we haven't had any operating revenue come in, so we've just had the expenses go out for the maintenance and whatnot of the properties. And then the other two statements, we have a properties activity report, and so we have a monthly expense and a year-to-date expense, as well as a cumulative expense on each of the properties. And then we have an investment property on the next page, which we have the actual monthly expenses on the detail of that. And then the final, the next statement is your pooled cash, your inflows and outflows. And then you have your, on the last page, you have your incentive program, which has all the details of the different expenditures. So you have a $300,000 program budget for that. We've paid out $72,000 or encumbered $72,000 to date, with a total of $227,566 remaining in that incentive budget. Now, I just went over that super quick, and you just got these statements, so I appreciate that you may have some questions or may want to ask some questions if you have any.
One question.
Sure.
The second page underneath the operating expenses, where you're indicating a loss for a change of position. The rent that's being paid at the current office for the Economic Development Authority department.
Right, that was not in there, but we will double check and make sure that that gets put in next month.
And that was my same question
Okay.
for the,
So that would actually reduce, that would cause a loss.
That would make it even less, yes. So,
yeah. On page 7, no, 5, this is the same thing. That was my question about the EA department's rent, just a dash there, and I didn't know if they had accounted for us paying it
I'm sorry.
under outflow activity. The same question, is that related to the same line item that budget?
Yes. I'll take a look at that.
Okay.
Have an answer for that next time. The other thing I wanted to suggest, and that you, it's more than willing, on page 2, you have an annual budget, you have September, and then you have year-to-date. Would it be better, and I think it might be more useful if we just showed each month as it progresses, or?
It would be great if we have a current month and then a previous month and then a year-to-date.
Okay,
So we can do a comparison.
it's an odd, it's an odd statement, because you have the budget here, and then you don't have any change to budget. So
Right.
if I can take some time to make some changes to this, to make it a little bit more. So the previous month, the month to date, previous month, the same month, the year to date, and then a change between budget and actual.
Absolutely, that would give us
Okay.
a clearer picture.
Okay, and then we'll check on the next year.
Vice Mayor?
This may be something you can't answer right now, or maybe I should know. Under the, on page 4, the 311 County Street property. I'm looking at the, electrical, and did we violently under budget? It seems like
We may have, it may, and I'm not sure of the cyclical nature of this. It might be air conditioning is much more expensive in the summer, and it will go down a little bit, I'm not sure.
We know that.
Yeah, it's more expensive, so electricity might go up because of the air conditioning, but I will take a look at that, which is part of the reason why I said sometimes it's nice to see all the months, so you can see the ups
See
and
what
downs.
happened, yes, absolutely.
And then if we didn't pay a bill for whatever reason of timing or whatever, you could see it. Okay. All right, is there any other questions? And once again, thank you very much. I don't expect this to happen again when you get it at the meeting. And, I'll schedule it with Mallory, Ms. Butler, to, get the auditors in next one.
Right.
Okay.
We'll be looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Commissioners, what is your pleasure for the financials today? Will we move to accept, or are you comfortable with this? Because the corrections that we've made will be revised for the next, Commissioner Kelly?
My initial thoughts are, take a look at it once we have the adjustments made. We've had a chance to look at the financials now. It's the first time we've looked at them in some time, so
Right.
I think, and my recommendation would be to hold off to the next meeting. Let's make the adjustments, let's have a chance to look them over as a commission again,
Sure.
and, make sure they're sound.
Ms. Kelly, you had actually said that you wanted to have the auditors come and present at the next meeting.
Yes, they will present the financials for FY15, which ended June 30th.
When will we have those for review? Will we see them the first time at the meeting, or will we have them
We
in
can
advance?
send them out in the
Go
next
over
couple
the
of
agenda
days.
packets they
The
posted.
audit partner is still reviewing it, so that they haven't made a final opinion yet. I don't expect it to be anything but a clean opinion, but once she reviews it, they can release it. So
And we
we'll
always
send it
send it-
via Mallory,
We
Ms.
always
Butler.
send it over the agenda packet prior to the meeting when the auditor
So we'll
presents.
have a better assessment with that information as well, too, so.
I would make a motion to table it until.
Second.
Okay, Commissioners, it has been moved
I second.
and second. Okay, that we lay these on the table, take another review, next month, so thank you for your comments on that. With that, welcome, Commissioner Barry.
Sorry for being late.
No problem. We're moving into our,
Can we vote?
a vote on laying it on the table, yes.
Mr. Hines?
Yes.
Mrs. Jacobs?
What are we doing?
Agreeing that we're gonna delay the vote,
Yes,
delay.
yes, delay
Ms.
it,
Jacobs,
definitely.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucas Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
And Commissioners, we'll move to our old business section of our agenda, and, first up, we have our, Economic Development Department rent.
Yes, I just wanted to provide an update and thank you for providing rental payments for the department from July through December 31st, and did want to let you know that we are moving forward with moving the department out of that space. We will be in the 5th floor of City Hall over by the mail room by December 31st, and we are in the throes of making that happen and working with General Services now. So we will be packing up, so if we don't respond to the phone right away, know we're in the back packing up files.
next agenda item is, properties for resale, the listing of the agent, with the RFP. And I want to thank our department and, Vice Chair Thompson for standing in the, for me, in our absence, with the presentation that was put on, earlier in the month. So with that, we'll hear an update from Mrs. Butler.
Thank you. As you may recall, this body formed an ad hoc committee, and we put together a request for proposals to seek real estate professionals to review your portfolio and to list and market and sell those properties. You all all reviewed that RFP and blessed it with the assistance of the procurement department in the finance office. We released that RFP on September 28th. We have also, as you all have all seen in the written reports I've emailed you, paid for advertising in a variety of publications to include the Virginian Pilot, the Currents, Inside Business, the New Journal and Guide, and the Hampton Roads Messenger. That RFP was advertised in all of those publications. We also did a blast email to all the commercial and industrial real estate brokers in Hampton Roads. We also have posted it on the department's website. We have posted it, Finance has posted it on their procurement automated website. Procurement also sent it over to the school board, and they have included it in a section where they seek minority and women and small line businesses. We advertised in all of that information the pre-bid meeting, which was held last Tuesday morning. Again, the vice chair gave an introduction. Mike Amons from Finance and I gave an overview of both the RFP and the timeline of the process, as well as all the development activity taking place in Portsmouth and why it's a good reason and a good time to be active and engaged in the commercial real estate market in Portsmouth. We had 9 individuals attend that function, representing 8 different commercial real estate companies, and we again have posted it on all the appropriate websites. The closing is on Friday, October 30th at 2 p.m., so we will not give you any information on how many folks respond or how many are in until after the bid has closed. So we're moving forward and hope to have another update for you in November. Again, the thought process is to go through the application or the responses that come in, if necessary or if desired, to an interview panel, and then hopefully be in a position to bring you all our recommendation either at your December, but certainly no later than your January meeting.
Good update.
I just would
Concerns with that?
I would just add that it was really, although the event was not to publicize the city, the presentation that Ms. Butler did was pretty phenomenal. That really was a really good sale of the city, and really nice to see the things that are happening in the private development as well as what the city is doing. So, but we were very well represented. Very proud to be part of this commission during that event.
I understand the council and the public got an opportunity to see that at the last council meeting.
Public
I was here, the public.
And the council.
And the public.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Great. We'll move to our next agenda item, and that is our 311 County Street property. And if you were in present at the last council meeting or have had an opportunity to review the video regarding it, we know now that the tenants of the police department will not be moving out. And the conversations that we had with the Portsmouth business for them to acquire that property are all at a halt. Just some background information, the Economic Development Department acquired the property at 311 County Street from Gwaltney, who were the prior owners, in the fall of 2013. We bought that property for a total of $516,000 roughly. We own the property free and clear. There's no debt on it because we paid that in full. Back in 2014, we voted to invest, actually before 2014, somewhere along 2013, we voted to renovate the lobby area so that it would be a marketable place for us to sell somewhere in the tune of $54,000 that was completed in the fiscal year of this year, 2015. And with those estimated in budgets, we've totally had an expenses that we've put into it so far, roughly $58,000.
That was a capital expense of $54,000 on the lobby. The annual operating costs are $58,000 budgeted.
Annual cost that we're spending. So what we're trying to state is that when we adopted our budget, the police department was initially to vacate the property by the end of this year, December of this year, and the only estimated rental income that we would get from the police department was $47,000. So right now, we're on the table with the discussion that we had with moving forward with a tenant that will no longer be an option, and there's also some speculation that the fire department will be moving in that facility as well. So we will work with the current Portsmouth business who is looking to also stay in Portsmouth to give them some other properties that may be of interest to them. Our council liaisons are here and they may have more insight. Our city manager is here, so if either of you would like to make any additional comments relative to this.
Yes, I would like to hear some additional comments from our city manager on this 311.
Right, well, we currently have, 311 is one of 7 properties of which the city currently leases, of which these leases encompass into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. What we're trying to do is find locations that would be permanent homes for our public safety divisions. We own 801 County, and currently we are in the process of renovating 2 additional floors in that 5-floor property, which is right behind City Hall. We have 3 floors that are currently occupied by public safety. Where we have 45 detectives right now in 311 County Street, we are not able at this moment, and not by the end of the year, to relocate them to the 801 property. We can eliminate a lease payment in, leaving them there for the interim and time being, moving the fire administration to that 2nd floor, which is vacant, which would release the monies for lease payments that the city currently have yearly in a reduction phase. So as we complete this building, and when I say complete all the renovations, which will take us into next year, we need and looked at where could we move fire administration in that 2nd floor was the available space, both working with the fire chief and the police chief, meeting indicating that that would be an ideal setting for them to relocate at this time.
So the city is proposing to not pay the authority rent as have been done with the police paying us rent?
Well, we currently pay the 47, we are not
No.
looking,
Yeah,
Right.
we're not looking to pay,
the higher rent that was at 355 Crawford Street.
right, that's what's right.
But is there a proposal to at least break even for us?
On the expenses.
Yes.
Your monthly expenses are 50, what did she say?
58, and you are
And we're at
47, so
I'm
that's
sure I'm sure if we're paying 47 now, their monthly expenses are 58. We would not want you to be in a deficit in your monthly expenses, so I'm sure that I could propose, to equal that to the 58,000, which are your monthly expenses.
Well, I still have to be clear, because if the police are still there and then we move the fire in essence, that would entail more rental payments, not flat rental at the 47.
Well, the 47 is
That's for the
what
police.
we are currently,
For the police only.
the 47 is currently what EDA is receiving from the police department.
Right, from the police only,
Right,
for the
For the
bottom
police
floor.
only.
But
So I
if-
guess we needed to see, if there's gonna be any increase in rents
Well, we
for
were-
the five,
Right.
moving upstairs.
We were not looking at a substantial increase in rents, because what we're trying to do now is decrease rents so that we can be within a budget
Right.
that we could afford.
Correct.
And so,
Commissioner Hines.
Thank I guess my concern, maybe what we can do here is, I mean, the property, we understand where the city is in terms of the financial situation. Maybe we move them in, see what the expenses actually are, with the additional personnel in, and then the bodies can get back together and find a happy medium between. I certainly think our council wants us to succeed, and we also want to be a blessing to our city. So I think that might be a workable process. Maybe look at it for 60 or 90 days and establish what our increased cost will be.
Commissioner Green?
I'll defer to you.
Yeah, I just want to mention one other thing. I mean, we really haven't had time to sit down internally and discuss since the council meeting, but another option would simply be for EDA to convey the property to the city, perhaps put a deed of trust, not a regular pay deed of trust, but a deed of trust to memorialize EDA's investment, so that when the property ultimately goes back out to the private side, EDA recoups. But that would eliminate the whole rental structure. EDA don't have to, we're not doubling up on insurance expenses or anything like that. We don't have two public entities in the liability chain. And right now, the original lease on this property was structured by Gwaltney back when they owned the building, and it was structured such that a broker gets a regular cut of the monthly rent. So if we eliminate that monthly rent payment, then it's a net public gain because we're not having to pay the broker anymore. So,
Well, also the intent.
Commissioner Frost?
Yes.
Yeah, my only question was, this might be premature, but is there a future plan to perhaps have the public sector fill the entire building for fire?
We are looking to move the detective, all the police, as much as possible, except right now where their arsenal is, into 801.
Including the fire department?
Fire department, we're looking to relocate them to a new location, but they probably will not all be in 801.
Okay, so what we're talking about here is a temporary.
Right, this
It
is.
is not that we're eventually looking to
Stay
staff
there.
it. Okay.
Yes, you are. This is not that they're gonna be there for 3 years.
Yeah.
This is interim as we continue to move toward some permanency for it.
Okay, I'm hearing two perspectives here. Attorney Miller, you mentioned possibly about us conveying the property back to the city. And then I'm sort of hearing from you that it would be a temporary situation for fire to be there, for the police to be there in 311. I'm talking about 311 here.
In 311, as Mr. Miller indicated, we don't know the exact time frame. So right now, we need 311 for fire and police. As we move forward in looking to future, as it pertains to both police and fire, we would like to find them or place them in permanent locations. 801 is a location that we are renovating, and it is going to take time to renovate. Some of police will move there. All of police will not be able to be located in 801. So it's the 311 right now, we need it in order for fire and police to be there. As we look to the future, and I can't say the time frame on the future, we hope one day to be able to have police and fire in permanent locations. 311 right now is a temporary location, although detectives have been there, I don't know how long, but
Very
they've
long
been there a
time.
while. Right.
Here's what was just a
We
suggestion.
acquired the property in 2013.
13, so they've only been there since 13, they've not been a long
Police has
time.
been in there for close to 20 years.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh, police has been in the Gwaltney building for
Yes,
20 years?
yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
maybe
Because I remember that from the tour.
Maybe long.
All right, well, that's a long time.
We have
Yeah, that's-
Commissioner Thomason, and then we'll hear from Vice
Any
Mayor.
other building he's got.
I just wanted to point out, if I remember correctly, I'm sorry, I was breaking.
Yeah, she
No,
was,
okay, I was
Yeah.
Okay, when the opportunity came to us to purchase this building, we felt like that there was an opportunity to establish a really good equity stake, and we really felt like the city would benefit by using this to house their services in.
Okay.
We felt like we were in a position to
Yeah.
obtain it, and then we really thought that the city was going to take it over. We found out afterwards that it did not fit at the current time with the landscape and their ability to predict the future, and the city said no. That's what we looked at, a different opportunity. It seems like the city now would be in a position to do exactly what we intended to do when we acquired the building. My question would be, Jeff, if it turned out to be 6 months, and they really just found they just didn't need it, returning back is, properties move back and forth between the EDA and the.
Just requires a council resolution, that's all.
Right, so then we get out of the rental business, which we didn't want to get into to begin with, and we go back to what we're in business to do, and we reduce the city's expenses, and we accomplished what we wanted to, which was to prop the city up with a piece of property that had a lot of opportunities for it.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. I was just gonna, and Ms. Jiggins, this might help you with the word temporary.
Yes, please.
And the council really wasn't aware of all the expense involved when we purchased the 801 Water Street building as a police headquarters building. The detective bureau that's in 311, part of what you have to have for a detective bureau are holding cells, arsenal for your cache of weapons. There's a lot of things, it's not just an office building with desks and chairs. There are lots of special things that go with the detective bureau that are different from just normal police operations, frankly. So, we're using the word temporary, but we're talking about lots and lots and lots of money and lots and lots and lots of time to build out what would be required by a new detective bureau location. I was going to suggest that, Mr. Miller's idea of, the Economic Development Authority did go into this building, because it was being used by the city and whatever, and I think, what Jeff is suggesting makes a lot of sense. I know we're all using the word temporary, but I think temporary could be 4 or 5 years.
That's, and that's,
And if it is 3 months, who cares? It's another vote of this body and the council. And why, I don't think, Ms. Butler and Dr. Patton need to spend a lot of time worrying about how much the electric bill is. They got way bigger, better things to do. Let's just make it clean and simple, is my opinion.
Temporary could be 10 years.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Because, the gist of it is we're trying to get, as you all know, draw down on what we're paying in police profits and get all our stuff, everything in city-owned facilities. So this is just another part of that. And rather than doing the things that the Vice Mayor talked about to a building that is not city or some city entity owned, we prefer to do that. Remodel and do those kind of things to buildings that we actually own, rather than doing it from somebody else and give it back to them later. So this way, this probably is either going to stay city or EDA, which in my mind is still the city. So we're going to make that kind of investment in a building. It should be something that you or the city owns, rather than doing it for somebody else to turn it over. So temporary could be whatever, because we all hoped and talked about lots of times this a grand public safety headquarters, and we're still hoping to do that one day, but that's not in the near future.
No.
So therefore, we're just trying to consolidate our resources and our people.
Cut expenses. And your point about the broker's fee, I hadn't thought of that.
That's why we have a good council.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion
Excuse me, I need to.
Is there some other discussion, commissioners?
Yeah, because I thought the brokerage fee had already ceased, because he's no longer a
What are you
listing
talking about if
agent.
we moving forward in a new aspect of conveying the property?
Anytime rent's paid.
We assumed the lease, so the brokerage fee still continues on the same lease when we acquired the property.
Well, the lease was the lease, is what you're saying.
And then there was any change.
This is not the
Contract
broker,
of the-
this is not the listing broker
Not
that
the
EDA
RFP.
previously had, that was RFP, this was the broker we inherited with
Oh,
the
okay.
lease.
Madam Chair, I do have one quick question. If we go ahead and take action and move to the city, which I'm actually in favor of, I believe if we do this immediately, there is a hole where we're going to collect police rents in our budget through December, correct? Is there any concessions that could, what would be our plan to fill that gap in our budget? I understand that, but I just want to make sure we look at that as well from our financial. We do have a rent side that we are collecting in revenues, but we don't have the expenses. I'd just like to make sure those Those balance
those
out.
gaps are filled in. They don't
Exactly.
wanna lose
Right.
2 months of rent.
Then I could make the motion that we move, I can make a motion. The motion would be that we get council to prepare a contract for the transfer of the property, and then we review the contract prior to the transfer.
Councilman.
It may make sense to give a month to.
Right, we can vote.
Let everybody look at this and make sure it's okay.
Right.
So the rent payment would go through December.
Well, we'd have to figure that out.
Well, I'm saying, if this is end of October, November, by that, we're into December, so
So
we would still be.
become an issue, it's a non-issue at that point.
That's
It runs
right.
through December, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you won't have the expenses.
That's
anyway.
correct, right.
We said we'll assume those other expenses, so you wouldn't.
Again, I just wanna make sure that timing comes in play where we don't have a hole in the budget where we
Right.
anticipate revenues.
Any other discussions, Commissioners? Commissioner Kelly?
The only question I had was any prior interest in this building is gone?
I have communicated with our prospect and working with him to find additional space in the city. And he's aware and understanding. Obviously, he's not thrilled, but I wouldn't say there's negative. He's still entertaining the idea of working with me to find another spot in Portsmouth.
Okay, wonderful.
All right, Commissioners, so it's the pleasure, we're gonna, take a look at this over the next 30 days and then come back with, a solution. There's a motion. No second. There's a motion.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hines?
Yes.
Mr.
Mr.
Kelly
Higgins?
wants clarification.
What's the motion for?
To convey
30
311
days.
to city county, city
Well, no,
to the city.
To allow Jeff to draft an agreement on how we would do the transfer and present it the next meeting.
Correct.
That's correct. That's the
All right, now to make sure we're on the same page.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, that
Draft a
we'll know the
deed
details.
Draft the- draft
For the body's
contract.
consideration to convey 311 to the city.
And that gives everybody time to prepare and have the discussions that we need to make sure
Yes.
all interests are served and we do that.
Exactly.
Got it.
To draft a deed for this body's consideration to convey 311 to the city. Okay. I have, first and second, Mr. Bailey.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Hines.
Yes.
Ms. Jiggets.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg.
Yes.
Mr. Thomason.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Motion carries and action is approved.
Okay. Our next agenda item is the Commons at Portsmouth Center, Victory Village. And I had the great pleasure of attending the Planning Commission meeting this month on October 6th. Didn't know those meetings could run so long. Should have warned me, Councilman Chair. We're here at 3 o'clock and we still had not gotten to our agenda items. So I think Mrs. Butler is being her job and how capable and fluent she is at that. She sat through the whole time. I think they got up somewhere close to 5 o'clock. But anyway, here we are. The rezoning application was reviewed, and it will go to the council at the November 10th. The planning commission did vote 3-3, and because that was a tie vote, it goes to the council as a denied application. There was so much discussion about that property back and forth, and if you want to take a look at the video on that with the planning work session and also the actual planning commission meeting, you would catch you up to speed on some of the conversations that were surrounded on that application. But as we are right now, the application will go to the council November 10th as a denied rezoning application for the Commons at Portsmouth Center, the old Victory Village property. So that's the update that I have. Council, if any other commissioners, if you have any other comments or questions.
I just had one question for clarity, that it is clearly defined now as the Commons at Portsmouth?
It is.
No longer called the
It's the Commons at Portsmouth.
I thought that was part of the application, so.
I think that they were able to change the name without the rezoning part of it.
I guess this question is that gonna be defined. Who knows? I mean,
On November 10th.
because depending on what happens at council, if what happens with the property, it could the name could change, that's what you're asking, is that permanent?
Is this permanent?
Yeah, because I didn't know that there was any permanency to the name, it was all part of the rezoning and everything.
No,
Okay.
the suggested name change from Victory Village to the Commons at Portsmouth Center was, came from the development team and their colliers, their brokerage and leasing and marketing firm, and they instituted that last spring in conjunction with presenting that property in a new light and in a new marketing pitch. So that's been, some of us are just bipartisan, kind of whole archetypes, which we didn't mention anything.
Okay.
This is the name, yeah, remember we had a presentation from a lady from out of Richmond.
I remember the presentation, I just,
Yeah,
I
that's, I
didn't
think they
realize it was an
went through
approved
the,
name change.
I think they, it's a matter of them as the development team going to this, State Corporation Commission and changing, their bylaws, on how their name is, viewed for marketability.
All right. Thank you.
Well, I will say this, it does concern me with the developer that, because, our commission gave a number of recommendations concerning how to approach the prospect recruitment aspect. And I don't feel like that was incorporated, into, what went forth also at this point. And, certainly it needs to have more focus, because, as I've said all along, we want that project to be unique and to be looking for prospects that are nowhere within the Hampton Roads area. It doesn't serve a purpose to do otherwise, so I just have to reiterate that at this point.
And I would like to also state for the record too, we were presented with this information on a short lease, on a short time frame. We thought as a body, as the commissioners, that it was our due diligence to approve an application so that it will go and meet the deadlines of the planning commission and the city council's meeting. So we, in a haste, did approve an application with the intent that would be us who would be delaying the process if we had not voted to allow them to submit that application to the planning commission by the deadline. So we did do that as a body, but they didn't present a full proposal or report from the planning department until the October, I think the Friday before the meeting. So they had the privilege of having some additional information that we were not privy to when we voted to move this application forward. So I do want to say that we were missing a few pages of information that could have helped us and maybe have changed our minds on how we would have voted to approve the application as well.
I'm sure we actually, we made that discussion, I think it seemed like the majority of the body did not approve what they were trying to do, but they weren't presenting their plans for the property, they were presenting a plan for a reapplication.
Absolutely.
And so we only approved the reapplication, not
Absolutely.
any plans that they proposed.
Correct.
So that's why the body decided to
Correct.
carry that forward, so.
Thank you.
I'm gonna come on that, ain't exactly what you did, but exactly what you did, but when it went forth from this body, it went forth as if it was a recommendation for approval to the planning commission. That's just the way it read, which is what I was trying to say to you all in the other building.
Right.
Yes.
So, and you all were very gracious in rushing that and passing that, because you were put under the gun by getting that on that time frame.
Deadline.
But they had a whole year to get that to you. And they got an extension a year ago. A year ago, well, more than a year ago, it was August of a year ago, that they had an extension to put that together. So they waited until the 9th hour to bring something to you, to say we met the deadline of that 1 year extension. And you did what you did, which I get. And so you didn't do anything wrong, and you were under no obligation to do what you did for them. You didn't have to do it. If you had delayed it, no one on council would have been upset, because we knew that that was last minute, and they were given an extension a year ago. They had a whole year to put that together and decided we better do something now before the clock runs out.
Well, I know you were very clear at that meeting, Mr. Kelly was, and I believe Ms. Jiggins was also, that if the plans that you're showing us now are what you're gonna present to us, when you come back with them, we will deny them.
Yeah, exactly.
We made it pretty clear that we were not gonna accept their plans. We would accept their application
Right.
to reapply for zoning, but we did not approve their plans. So they knew it was a futile battle at that point.
And they went forward anyway, and I know that I'm from North Carolina, I stuttered, but I thought I was pretty clear.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo your sentiment about that.
Better stop
Actually,
it.
we had another conversation as well about the timing of rezonings, and the timing that this commission, I think, should go forward to take additional time and not allow, anybody to rush the process. I do feel that we were trying to meet the deadlines that were established by the planning and by our city council, but I do think that a 30-day window for us to have an opportunity to review and think about these rezoning applications would be prudent for us in the future.
Yeah, because it wasn't your fault. Those two.
You might, this may sound strange, but for the public's edification and your own credibility as a commission, you might consider, speaking when it gets to council, if the commission agrees, as chairman, to say exactly what you just said. We approve this for this reason, this is what we approved and why, and just to clarify for the public's edification.
What Mr. Thompson said? Mr. Thompson?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been the sentiment of the body, and I just wanted to make that clear at this meeting, and I will be present at the November 10th council meeting, so I just,
Then we're gonna have to sign up to.
sign up on the agenda
Or
to
the
speak.
item on the
We have to
agenda.
protect our good name,
Right.
as EDA
Yeah.
commissioners,
Absolutely.
because, the other side of.
Just kind of a public
Defense.
clarification to the city
Right.
council as they
As to what
deliberate their.
Absolutely, okay.
Should that be done as a resolution or just?
Because I conveyed to council that the majority of you guys didn't agree with what was going on, what they were doing, as Vice Mayor was telling you.
I don't think they need a resolution.
Not a
He's
resolution.
asking-
No.
Just to go before the body
you'll
as a
represent-
speaker, I will,
As
I
a
will.
presentation, or you need to sign up as a speaker?
I
And
would have
they,
to sign up as.
or when the agenda comes out, she can either call the clerk or sign up that night to speak on that item.
Right,
You
okay,
will handle that?
I will do that, and if you all
Fantastic.
will be there in support, I appreciate that as well.
And just to, clarify on another point, with, rezoning applications coming before us, we can also have the benefit of the Department of Planning to get their input or zoning as to the application, or does that take place at the development department level, and you speak with them and you all communicate on that?
Actually, planning as a review body generally can have informal conversations with the department, but does not want to stand before this body before the
Okay.
application has been formally submitted to them for their review and consideration. Because they are the formal review body that then sends their report to the planning commission, which then planning commission makes a decision and sends forth to council, so.
So with the informal conversation that you have with them, then
It was very similar to the conversations that you all were having.
that
as
you
well.
advise us of? Okay.
Yes, Chairperson Burke, I would suggest that we have someone to, from the planning department to sit in on the EDA meetings. I mean,
They are invited, they have chosen not to attend.
well, they will be attending, so the next
Well,
meeting.
that was really the specifics of my question, that's why.
Yeah, we can get
Ms.
some
Dr.
more.
Patton, when I was planning commission chairman, we did have people.
Well, we have
We had liaisons from the
Yeah,
different
we will
major
have-
boards.
We will have
Because
a liaison.
planning, EDA, PPIC was one of them.
PRHA.
A lot of things cross and.
They do.
And we had the liaisons to each that came back to tell us what was going on. And so you could say, there's no point in
This.
zoning appeals looking at something that we already knew that planning department was doing this with, or vice versa, so that's a great idea, and I
I'll
think
have
we need to.
Mr. Bowles start.
We do have a planning commission
We
in the
have a
audience.
commission audience, yes, but he's not an assigned.
Official.
He's just a very interested party.
Right.
Who wants to be
But
well.
let me just clarify on one point.
But you maybe you can be the one, if it's on planning commission, if you know.
I'll talk with Mr. Bowles, we'll have someone.
We'll have somebody,
Yes,
yes.
I will.
Thank you, that would.
And that's good too, and certainly appreciate that, but let me just, just engage it a little bit further from an economic development perspective. There probably will be times where, going from the planning perspective, development will see it different. Because we have to look at not how it is, but how it can be, and many times that will be in a opposing view as to how the planning department sees it, and I share that with you from having been with the city of Norfolk, and there were times that for development, we had to sort of push forward with the project. The planning said, well, no, it can't work, and we said, yes, it can. As an example, Harbor Park on the waterfront. That was a visionary project that development pushed for, because we had to see that land how it could be, so just,
Thanks for that
I think everybody
information.
should hear both sides.
Yeah,
They need to
yeah,
hear,
just
just hear your vision. May not agree, but we need to hear
right,
it.
but just hear it, yeah.
And I'm also liaison to the planning commission, and I have had one question, the minutes that is forwarded from you all to them, it's mostly, I guess, outline of what you talked about in
Detail.
Yeah, and they have had the chairman and a couple of other commissioners say, can we get more information on what actually happened in the meeting, and not as opposed to what the topics were. And that would help them a lot.
Thank you for that comment. Commissioner Hines, and then we'll move on to our next agenda item.
Would it be appropriate for this body to maybe have a liaison to go to as well, so we can understand where they're coming from and report back?
I guess we can look at
So
that.
it's something maybe we can
because
just investigate.
Yeah, I know, I attend the PPIC meetings as an ex officio, and I don't know if we have anyone set up for planning. I know Mrs. Butler attends a lot of the meetings, and that's how we're able to get information. So I guess going forward, we'll take a look at, how all of the bodies are commingled and make sure that we do have a representative to get information. All right, if there's no further discussion, we'll move to our next agenda item under old business, and that is our local incentive programs, and we'll hear from Mrs. Butler.
Yes, and thank you. Please be kind and patient and gentle with me. Toy Wilson has resigned and taken a new job with the state. So I am on a crash course to learn the details of your local incentive program. Obviously, I've been a party to it and at the 25,000 foot view, but now that I'm getting into the nitty gritty, this will be a steep and quick learning curve for me. So I do want to share with you though, as our parting gift to Toy, and she let me keep this for an extra day or two, this is what we did for her, which is because the two of you all, Toy and this body, worked closely together to, as I told her, give birth to this whole local incentive program. This was her baby, she was the brains behind it, she brought it to you all adopted it, you funded it, and so we put together a selection of photographs, starting with her first facade improvement grant that she brought to you for Menino's, and walking through a representative sample to show so that she can have a visual representation of the work that she did with you all to improve the facades of Portsmouth.
Is that the church, the third?
That is Trinity Church, and that is.
They were a part of the program to do this?
Yeah.
They were, we contributed a piece to that, Gosport Tavern, and the recent Skipjack. So again, this is just a representative sample. I couldn't get a frame big enough to include everything, but this will hang in her home. And so she was kind enough to let me hang on to that. So I thought you all would appreciate that, to be reminded of the visual changes.
Can I ask just a quick question? And we've talked, what what have we been talking about, the fee program, maybe, what, he's asking me, what am I saying, I can't think of the word.
The facade improvement grant.
Yeah, but the Cafe Europa, which we talked about, those are called awnings.
Right.
And, so we were talking about going forward and talking with some of the businesses, because we pruned the trees are high, and now all of the mildewed, mold torn are showing. So
Well,
they're
and,
gonna-
and just for your benefit, Dr. Patton, I will let you know, Toy, in addition to the marketing efforts that our staff and this body have done in promoting the program, by word of mouth, by internet, by speaking to bodies like the Old Town Business Association and other organizations to get the word on the street. Ms. Wilson actually, at different points over the last 3 years of the program, has gone door to door and handed out has handed out brochures. At this time, I don't foresee us being able to do that. I am the only professional staff person in the department right now. Our director's spot is vacant. Our business development manager is vacant. I'm working to fill that. So, in between preparing for your meetings, going to Planning Commission, being the eyes and ears for that, the Portsmouth Port and Industrial Commission, and relocating our office, we may have to put going door to door on hold till after the first of the year when we're fully staffed.
We can find someone to work with her to help with that, so we'll get out there door to door before, the end of the year.
We don't offer her more money to spend.
She has got an excellent opportunity with the State Economic Development Department, and we should be complimented that, that we get to take a little credit for the fact that they came and recruited her from us. I think that's sort of a feather in our cap. We all know she was phenomenal.
Yes.
But I think we ought to be able to take a tiny bit of that credit if we helped get her to that point. All right, with that, you all received 5 applications in your packet, and then I do have another one that cropped up that was incomplete on Friday that I worked with the individual yesterday, which you all have not had the benefit to review in advance, and you all can take that under consideration if and when you ask me to hand it out after we go through the ones that you did receive in advance. The first one you have before you is for Pelican Snowball franchise over at 505 Airline Boulevard. That is in the Midtown area, and as you see in your packet, it is recommended from staff with approval. And let's see here, the total is $31,000. This is for a facade improvement grant, and the half of that would be eligible for the grant, so you're looking at a figure of, bear with me here, up to half of that. And so it does come to you with a recommended approval, and all the pieces and parts, and Ms. Wilson did this piece. She left this with you, so you can be rest assured that it was completed staff work and comes to you with a recommended approval for this facade improvement grant. I will do my best to entertain any questions if you have any.
I would just like to give feedback on one thing, and maybe I probably should have picked up on this before. In my opinion, if we have a property that's not in the historical part of the city of Portsmouth, that in and of itself does not, in my opinion, require that it be rated, period. We have them rated poor. Instead of that, it's non-applicable because they're just not in a historical district. So going forward with any of the applications, if they're not in a historical district, just non-applicable instead of rating it poor.
Thank you. That's,
Is this an existing business, or is it starting new?
it is a new business, yes. Thank you. Do my math here real quickly. So,
What do they do?
it is like a snow cone
It would be
business.
a franchise, I believe.
That's
They're
right.
not the same industry. And I believe that there is an adjacent business that has some, that
Compliments to it.
well, maybe one of the owners, I think they're, aren't they here?
They're right.
Yeah, okay, they're ready to walk and answer.
If I may, if you would be kind enough to introduce yourself and answer the question regarding the the business and the operation.
Sure. My name is Jim Underwood. This is my partner, Lenny Cass. And your question again?
Well,
Did you-
because I think the contractor, isn't there is that someone that's in your family, or something like that, I thought I picked up on, right?
Yes.
I mean,
He's been a licensed contractor for
but
15 years.
isn't his business adjacent or,
Mhm.
but I saw the name Underwood for the contractor, and I assumed that there was some
This-
relationship there between this
Correct.
company and that company who will be doing the work.
Yes.
If I'm not, okay.
Well, the majority of it, though,
Uh-huh.
we have a licensed electrician and a licensed plumber to do the other work.
So the amount that would be under consideration for the group is generally the way the procedure works is it's half up to $25,000 for the facade. This is a estimated $31,000 improvement. So half of that, plus a 10% contingency that Ms. Wilson always built in, would be a total amount not to exceed $17,528. And of course, none of this is paid unless the work is completed and the receipts are submitted.
My only other question is, this will be a year-round business?
No, it's a 6-month,
Seasonal, this is
usually open from April through October.
So the traffic, new layout, changing from the old structure to the new structure. So that I'm
Yeah.
sure that will generate some interest in
Right.
these months of seasonal use.
And just kind of explain what we do, it's not just a bunch of ice thrown in a cup and put some flavoring on it, it all sinks to the bottom and scrape off the top of the ice and then drink the end. So if anybody's ever been to New Orleans or Hawaii, they have this shaved ice. And so it's completely different than granulated, and it has got over 100 different flavors. And it's not only the snowball that we're selling. The cover letter kind of explained that it's the experience. And so that's kind of what we're. Thank you.
Sorry. Mr. Underwood, sir.
Yes.
You own the building?
No. Kenny Jolly and E.J. Burbidge.
And the owner has signed off on the application, is approving the tenant's submittal of this application. So, is there any questions?
Move
to approve?
Second.
Let's see. All right. Mr. Bailey?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hines?
Yes.
Ms. Jiggins?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucas Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Motion approved, and the grant is approved. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your next application for your consideration is submitted by the Spencers, and it is for One Summer Place at 2221 High Street. This is for facade improvement to that facility, and again, you all received that packet Friday with all the detail, and again, it was prepared by Ms. Wilson, who has always done a thorough job with this. And I'm calculating now the actual amount, but we can entertain questions while I do that.
This is for the pharmacy, am I correct?
No, this is for a property, if you look at the aerial here, that is further down High Street, and the,
Sorry, I didn't check all 22 pages, otherwise I would have come up with a statute.
no, the pharmacy was last month.
Okay, you just said pharmacy on the top, yeah, my apologies, okay.
This one across from the gas station,
Where the old BP was,
where the
correct.
extension's gonna cut over.
Very, exactly, over
like
by
a-
the MLK.
This is a residential facility for adults with intellectual disabilities. So they're looking to make some renovations to the structure from the views at the front and side presentations.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Hines.
Thank you. I kind of questioned this application, and I know it's actually part of reimbursable cost as it's written in our current application. But I do have a little bit of heartburn about the roofing component of this request of, I believe, $31,000. And my understanding is it says roofing in conjunction with other improvements only. I don't think the spirit of the facade improvement grant is to improve the envelope of the building itself and to incur that type of cost. But I know it's in here, but I would like for us to review that the next time we look at our policy regarding that.
Which, if I may add, generally this body has done on an annual basis in anticipation of the July 1 budget and determination of how much to fund the program for the following fiscal year. So it's not unheard of. This is how we've added boundaries. I know we already have a list of suggested boundaries to add as of July 1 of next year. So we'll have an opportunity to have a discussion and we'll make note of that.
Madam Chair, I believe we have a representative here for this project as well, do we not?
Do we have is anyone here from our zone? We have someone here?
Perhaps they
Okay.
could address why the roofing is being tagged as that, give some more understanding.
That'd be great, thank you.
Because it looks like it kind of rolls into the facade, to me, the way they're gonna have to do the facade.
Right, I understand it. I think even part of it could fall into reimbursable, but I mean, you're talking,
These questions are full now.
I'm questioning the full amount, is my question.
Okay, we have a representative, Mr. Spencer. Okay.
I'm the contractor.
Okay, Mr. Contractor. Okay.
Just have, perhaps you could explain why the roofing is involved in this, how it ties into the facade.
Well, we're raising the facade up 2.5 feet, making the building taller to cover the area of the roof. And then of course on the side, giving drainage, gutters, fascia, eaves for all that roof system. It's broken out separately, so you can see the actual cost on each line item. Facade cost and the roof cost and all, but it will deplete our burden of keeping the roof updated every 10 years, but we'll have a 40, 50-year roof on the house.
Well, I don't think it's if I may, I'm not sure if it's appropriate for us to ensure that maintenance is complete as part of this facade improvement grant process. I just would like for us to address that.
Okay. Any other comments, commissioners?
Historically, I think I may be wrong on this, but I think we've had one or two of these come to us in the past under similar situations. And we did not replace the roof itself, but we did incorporate anything that was visible on the outside or actually added the integrity on the outside of the building for facade, visual aesthetics.
And again, I have no problem on the facade side. I do think that it appears, according to this, that there's structural and maintenance items that a business, as a cost of doing business, should be able to take care of.
Well, yes, you do a breakdown for
Is
that.
sure, and we would appreciate that. Is this going to continue to be a flat roof, or is this going to be an eve roof?
It's going to be a 4-pitch roof. If you look at the side view drawing, shows the side view of it.
Side view drawing?
SK2.
Okay, that's the side view.
Okay, commissioners, any other questions or comments? What is your pleasure?
Normally, I would be against this. I think we're building something that wasn't intended when this program started. The only thing I see in positive is location. We need to do something in that area. But bear in mind, commissioners, moving forward, you're now setting the precedent.
We did extend this up to High Street, did we not?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, this is incorporated in your boundaries that you all adopted when you did your evaluation last year.
Which needs a serious facelift.
Yes.
But bear in mind the precedent you're setting, moving forward.
Well, Mr. Bailey, you've done a great job, as well as all the commissioners, of rounding us out as a body so that we have a better perspective. We learn every time we do some of these. But we also have to be careful about how we approve and deny applications if they meet the criteria that is set. So as we look at each year, successive year, we look at what we can do to improve that. With that said, I would move to approve.
I would second.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hines?
No.
Ms. Jiggets?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
No.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
And I would say I would abstain, for the purpose of, this is a business that, I am currently involved in, and I don't wanna set, a precedence of me approving other agencies of the city.
You're with a
attorney.
competing business?
Right.
Okay, thank you. Not this particular
Not this
business. Got it.
business.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-2. And again, the maximum amount on that is $25,000.
Correct.
And a moment to clarify, but
Yes.
it was strictly on the basis of covering the whole roof expenses.
Same here.
That was the only reason. Nothing wrong with the location, beautiful idea, great plans, nothing else wrong with the budget.
And I look forward to just getting that fixed so that
No, I agree with you,
Yeah.
but we're gonna make that area pretty.
Yeah.
Right now, it's not pretty.
Yeah.
Just for future, I'm just asking a question because I'm not sure how you're going to. Would it have been possible for you all to, broken out the expenses and just applied the grant to the facade part and separated the roof part out?
The application regulations.
Correct.
That if a roof may be incorporated with a facade.
Correct.
Until we change the application to say that roofs are not applicable. A roof by itself is not eligible. If a roof is incorporated in the facade
It is.
application.
And your
it
current
is
regulations
in the
say-
current regulations.
Correct.
And Mr. Hines' suggestion, which we've made a note of, when we do our annual review and tweaking this program as it
Yes.
grows and develops
Yes.
across.
Going forward,
We
but
would
at the
define
moment,
that
it
probably to-
complies.
As
We
if-
will take a better
if the
look
roof
at.
has an impact on the facade.
Right.
We just remove.
My apologies, I did have a 9:30 today, and we did mention that with, Mrs. Butler and with, Vice Chairman. So he will carry on the meeting in my absence, and, I wish you all good luck. Under your current regulations, could you approve a lower amount than what the person asked for? You know, if they
Yes.
ask for $30,000, or they ask for 20, can you approve
Yes.
10 arbitrarily?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Under the current,
At our discretion.
correct.
All right, no further discussion on this? Ms. Butler, would you like to move on to the next grant?
Okay, the next grant is a interior build-out grant for number 1 High Street, which is the old Seaboard building at the foot of High Street. That property is going under a multi-million-dollar renovation, and the applicant has submitted very detailed information for what the interior improvements will be, and they are, again, spending several $1 million on the entire building, and they are requesting a $10,000 interior build-out grant for the ground floor where the restaurant space and the office space will be.
Very excited about that. Do we have a representative here for that?
No, I apologize, I do not see a representative. I know they're based in Richmond. I don't know if they've gotten hung up in traffic or not.
To me, this is a no-brainer.
Then move for approval.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Is that a
I'll
motion?
second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Just who was the first?
So,
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hines moved, Mr. Bailey second.
Okay. Mr. Bailey?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hines?
Yes.
Ms. Jiggets?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Absolutely. Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Motion carries. Seaboard's interior build-out is approved. Okay. The next one is, I apologize, that you say do y'all's back to back. It's just for a different order. The next one is the interior build-out grant for 306 High Street. We do have our representative, Tony Goodwin, with us. This is space that fronts High Street in between the coffee shop and the shoe shop, and this is a request for an interior build-out grant. Very detailed information in here. The costs are over $50,000. The interior build-out grant per property is $10,000, so the maximum amount here would be $10,000 for the property. And the idea is to take the space in the building on the ground floor between the coffee shop and the shoe shop and bring in the plumbing and the other things that are necessary to make it 3 individual spaces. There is a tenant already lined up for one of the 3 spaces, but this will allow the Tony Goodwin, who is going to master lease this section of the building from the property owner, to outfit that entire space, to create 3 spaces, to bring a tenant into one, which will then make it attractive for the 2 other spaces he creates. So again, the maximum amount would be $10,000. This is for this project, and this would be the only time this property would come before this body, as you all do have in your regulations that interior build-outs are one-time shot for a building, even if it's a multi-tenant building.
So the maximum outlay for us is $10,000, am I correct?
That's right. And I believe your council can point us to the section that indicates that the interior build-out is a one-time per building.
Correct.
I looked at that
There it is.
yesterday, if you want to help me with that.
Are we at liberty to know the perspective of the tenant?
I'll ask the representative if he can share it. I believe it's public.
Yes, it's, we're putting little shops on high back in that space. They were beside,
Yeah, it's essentially for each of these grants, you have it set up such that you have a cap on the amount, 10,000 for the interior build out, 25 for the facade. It's on a per property basis. So you can come back and get up to 10,000 or get up to 25 with multiple projects, but that is your max.
Is that per building or per unit?
Per property.
If they split this up into, okay.
On page 3 of the interior build-out application, you'll see under grant funds, Roman numeral 5, the maximum interior build-out amount available for any approved project or property is $10,000. So if they were only doing $8,000 of improvement and you all approved $4,000 today, and they wanted to come back to you at a later date with a $12,000 improvement and request $6,000, they could, but this particular application represents a $51,000 investment. So the maximum is 10, and they get all 10 this time.
And a representative wanted to add something.
Hi, my name's Rebecca Laris, and I'm very familiar with the FIG grant program, first time on the interior build-out program, and maybe working through some of the documentation with Mr. Goodwin. Before Toy left, I did have a conversation with her about this specific building. It has 3 suites in it, and as I understood, as she had explained to me, that the interior build-out could be divided into 3 suites with $10,000 of grant money per suite. The exterior renovation, the FIG grant, which is also going to be in the works, was a one-shot deal at the $25,000. That is why this project was approached suite by suite with the $10,000 grant per each suite. Now, if that was not the case, we probably would not have submitted this for this particular suite using all of our funds for that. But I specifically started the process with that question because it was unclear to me. And that is why it's presented to you today as suite by suite interior.
Would you like to withdraw the application at this point, is that what you're saying, and resubmit?
Well, I would maybe like to have a little more discussion on it. Have you had an interior build-out grant yet that was a multi-suite project,
Not right, Mr. Chairman.
okay?
Yes, go ahead.
So are we anticipating each suite to range in that $50,000 for private investment, or are we thinking somewhere between 30 and 50? What is your anticipated cost per suite?
Each suite needs an electrical service, plumbing service for handicap bathrooms, and heating and air conditioning. And that is the bulk of the expenses per suite, because each individual suite will be rented to individual businesses. And right now, as it is, the addresses are as follows: 302, 304A, 304B, and 306 High Street. But instead, we're actually combining 304A and B together and making that one suite. So we are really technically looking at 3 individual build-outs of that High Street frontage, and including also, the building also fronts Middle Street and has an additional 4 suites on Middle Street as well, which are in the same condition as the ones on the front. No bathrooms, no heating and air conditioning, no electrical, and they all have to be done.
I think originally we'd approached Toy with the entire interior build-out grant for all of the HVC for everything, and she did say it needed to be broken down into the individual suites to be presented to you for the grant. I think that was the very beginning of the question of how is this grant funded per suite? And then we do understand that the entire facade is one grant, even though it would encompass 3 different suites on that building.
Mr. Kelly?
Yeah. Well, going back to the original question, do you have an idea how much it's going to cost to build out each suite?
This one is going to dictate the price for future suites, but this one has also the demising wall that's already existing. We're just having to repair. So we're looking at 304 square footage. It doesn't necessarily contribute to this because the vanilla box is creating another demising wall. So we're going to be in and around the same $50,000 to $60,000 price range. At least for number 2, because we're only having to add 1 ADA bathroom rather than 2 for the talks that we're having right now with that potential tenant as well. And they are going to be a retailer, so we can do a unisex bathroom, but we will build the bathroom to where if, for instance, a restaurant were to come in at a later date, all they need to do is build right onto the side of the existing bathroom that we'll build to handle the retail tenant that we're talking to now for 304.
And I just want to get clarification from council one more time. So the clarification of it is specifically to?
What it says is the maximum IBOG amount available for any approved project or property is $10,000. To my mind, that both project and property are limited terms on that. So the maximum for property is $10,000. Nothing prevents the board from modifying its regulations in the future. If additional project comes back and the board decides that it wants to expand.
I don't mean to muddy the waters, but on page 2 under purpose interior build out, the definition of a vanilla shell space is defined as an interior condition of either a new or existing building or suite. We might have some conflicting verbiage if that's the case.
Yeah, I would say that rather than to get into the discussion surrounding how it's written, which is not applicable to the applicant right now. If somebody wanted to move to approve this, we can look at revising ours to clarify the wording of that. I just want to make sure that our applicant would understand that if that happened, we couldn't say one way or the other how we would go.
We were informed and instructed that the build-out grant followed it per suite, and the facade was one time for all of the buildings, as is defined in the comment that Mr. Kelly here alluded to, that the build-out grant was defined as a per suite basis.
Well, perhaps council know, because it seems like we have 2 issues before us now. So the motion, the application is what we're here to approve, but our language now is limiting us on being able to do that. So it would seem we have the opportunity to approve the application as it is, not knowing what the statute may be moving forward, or allow the applicant to withdraw the application until we can get clarity on that item.
That's correct. And if the board would like to consider a revision to clarify, as you said, at the next meeting, we can certainly do that, be prepared with those languages.
Yes, Mr. Hines.
Vice Chair, thank you. There are two things now have come to us about clarification regarding our facade improvement and our interior build-out. I don't think there's anything that would prohibit this body's review of these applications yet again prior to the beginning of the next fiscal year. I think Mr. Godwin's application definitely fits the spirit of what we're trying to do with these grants, and even his intent in terms of leasing out these suites. You know, the private investments is significant to do, you know, for $10,000. He's putting $50,000 in, and I think it definitely falls within that. Plus, you know, we're trying to build as a move for economic development. So I think we should actually act on this and then maybe bring some clarification back at the next meeting regarding this, and even you can address my roof issue as well.
Well, I think we're always gonna have things that are gonna concern us about the applications, and we're gonna continue to find where we need to make adjustments. In fact, I kinda hope we do forever in one regard, although it's a little work for us, but we should always be modifying and looking at it as we add people to our commission, that we find that the perspectives change and we find the situations change. But I want to be clear with the applicant, because if we move and it's later determined that they're not able to for the others, they may want to change their strategy.
Well, our strategy is in play. We've signed the lease. We have a 14-month tenant build-out and improvement credit, and the timer has truly started with the understanding that we are at a maximum of $30,000 for the build-out grant of these 3 units, and a $25,000 up to $25,000 facade improvement grant, which we are looking to bring it back to the original design of the building of W.T. Grants from 1948. And with that being said, again, we're spending in excess. Well, our estimates is at this point in time are $57,000 to this one suite. The next will be the same or more, and then the following will probably be a little less burdensome because of the fact that we've already included one wall between the 2 suites. But with that being said, we are simply looking to recoup our investment through that 14-month tenant build-out improvement credit and the second year that our lease term is there, by having tenants putting in their rent payments from day one. They're not responsible for doing anything but doing a little bit of painting and maybe some floor finishes, but they will be required to pay rent from day one, so they're not holding up. And in fact, little shops, we're working to try to get them in for this holiday season, and if they do not get in by sometime around mid-November, then they are wanting to push their occupancy and rent start time off until March or April of next year, which then absorbs about 6 months of our tenant improvement build-out credit.
Okay, so Ms. Jiggins, you had something?
Well, I was just going to say, you know, on page 2, it's very clear in the building guidelines, existing building or suite. And Mr. Goodwin was given that information by Ms. Wilson. And he's indicated that, you know, they only went forward with this application because they were told, and it's in writing under these guidelines, that this is how it could be approached. And at minimum, I would have to believe that this application would need to be grandfathered in. And I don't think we can, to me, in good business sense, not approve the application, understanding that there are additional suites that would come in for the interior build-out grant. I just don't see us reversing our course, since they specifically asked the questions and we have it in writing. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Can I ask you a question? One second, I'm trying to really be clear with the council here, because I think we have 2 separate issues. That's why I just wanted, we need to have clarification on the wording for the approval process, where the application can and cannot be approved. Right? and we have application before us, I think the project is phenomenal. I'd love to see it happen. I'd love for us to be supporting the project. But I just want to be clear with council that what we're doing is legal and appropriate. We can approve the application today, we can revisit, and if it's appropriate, we can certainly open it up for others to be done that way. But legally, what are we supposed to be doing right now, Jeff?
You have one application before you for the $10,000 grant, and you should act on that application. We will bring language back, if it's the board's will, to 100% clarify this at the next board meeting. I don't think that an applicant has any assurance of anything until there's approval of the application by the board, no matter what staff may say. So, as far as any kind of promissory estoppel or, promise to have a grant, it's discretionary to the board whether you give a grant. There's no reliance on that. However, going back to what I said, act on the $10,000 application. We'll come back with proposed language to clarify the terms of the grant. It sounds like the will of the board is that individual shells within the same property should be able to get $10,000 a pop. We will come back with language for the board to review to clarify that 100% and determine whether that is in fact the board's will at the next meeting. And in the meantime, Mr. Goodwin will have his $10,000 grant to roll with.
So Mr. Goodwin doesn't just want the $10,000 grant, and what is it, when you read on page 2, the language, what did you interpret it to say? Because I'm curious.
I interpret property as a limiting factor on page 3.
Correct.
No, I'm on page 2, under purpose.
I'm looking at page 3.
But can you go to page 2 and
I'm looking
explain
at
to
page
me
2.
under vanilla shell?
It could be construed as starting with one vanilla shell to get the building rolling, but limiting it for the property to $10,000. That's a possible construction.
Can I make one final statement?
I'll let Mr. Hines real quickly, and if we could move.
The question that I have is, can we interpret project, that term project on page 3 to be each individual suite and still be within the confines of our already established grant application? Considering you're talking about a suite, that could be considered a project. It says project or property, so I think it does lend itself to this board's discretion of what we feel to be appropriate.
One last thing, I keep
One
getting
second.
shut down here.
No,
All
you're
right.
not. Come on.
I have a quick question. Mr. Goodwin, let me ask you a question. If we give you the $10,000 grant, and then nothing more comes from this commission, will the project move forward, or we build out and the project stops?
I'll probably end up losing about $25,000 in the deal after master lease of 2 years.
Okay, no, I didn't ask the question how much money you're gonna make or lose. I'm asking the question is, if we give you the 10,000, and then we say no more, will the project move forward, or will it become a white elephant?
It'll become a white elephant, and because I'm contractually bound to that lease that I've now signed for the agreement with the anticipation and clarification that we've had on a per suite basis, as well as it's written in there, suite or property, and we did clarify that.
But to clarify again, there's one application before you right now for $10,000. That's it.
So right now, if we approve this deal and you choose not to build it out, the application dies regardless of a certain amount of time frame. If we approve it and you build it out, you get the one suite built out and you get your tenant in there for right now, correct?
Yeah, well, like I said, we're in verbal discussions with the second tenant on 3 or 4 spaces, so to speak,
And then at that time, you can submit another application.
which is anticipated to be next month.
And isn't this a reimbursement? In other words, the
Yes.
work has to be completed.
Yes.
Invoices have to be submitted.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, we need to put something in the next place. I'm not trying to tie everyone's day up. We need to put something in the next place. But my concern is that,
Are we throwing away 10,000?
are we building a white elephant?
Right.
I'm concerned about the 10,000. I just don't want an eyesore. Because we're now issuing the grant. And by the way, Mr. Goodwin, I'm all for this. But what I'm saying, commissioners, we're again setting another precedent. We're now going in a very gray area where when I started as a commissioner, it was always a $10,000 per building. That was my understanding. Now, I'm saying we should possibly make an exception because of the location of that building, and something needs to go in there. Again, you're setting a precedent.
I think
Kelly,
we have.
I would like to make a
One
motion
second.
to approve, just
I'll
based
second
on
it.
what's before us right now, and if they so choose to withdraw the application, they can. If they choose to set another one, we have another conversation, make another meeting, but right now, we can allow him to go ahead and get his tenants in place, he can go ahead and make provisions to move forward, and we're not stalling on that.
Okay, well, I'm ready for the vote. And I will, once again, want to clarify, based on the program guidelines that are in writing, what Mr. Goodwin has submitted is in compliance with the guidelines. That's what our guidelines say. It's very clear on page 2. So, what we need to know is if Mr. Goodwin wants to go forward at this point, rather than we just decide we're gonna just take the vote. We need to know what your pleasure is. And quite frankly, I'm prepared to vote yes because of what I see in writing and what you have been told. Per suite, it's very clear.
Mr. Tom.
Yes, Mr. Jones, I'm just trying to.
I know you're trying to
We
expedite.
Well, we
that.
continue to mix the two
I would
issues
like-
together, we're not
I
getting
understand.
clarity in that.
So I was gonna ask if it's this board's pleasure that we go ahead and take action on Mr. Kelly's